Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do a moment of silence and do it briefly, and there's so much that we could bow our heads at. I won't get started. I'm worried about our country, but it's one reason why we're here. We are people who care, and we got a lot to do, and Drew's going to help you more a bit.
If you want to
down.
So, seats there, there's like
Bow our
beer on
heads
the table.
so our country makes it through. Great, thank you very much. I'm the outgoing president, Reed Morgan. Our vice president, Chris Radolich, is right there. He, of course, runs the Zoom for us every meeting. His wife, Sue, treasurer, Celia, there. We've got his wife, Catherine. His wife, Catherine, is also on the board. Next to her is Barry Shepard, who was our publications person, does a great job. Lowry's membership, what are you? And you see, there you are. And Walt is not here yet. Oh, there he is. He's in the back. Always here. You always slide in there. See you back there. Right, you should have holding the flag. But anyhow, there's Walt.
That's not my name.
Walt. It's Walt, Sealy, and
Walt.
Paul.
I'm gone. He's gone.
So anyhow, that's us. And now I've introduced the board. We've had pledge, we've had a moment of silence. What am I missing, guys? Go start the last open of the floor for nominations, so we get the election going, and I'm going to hand this over to hopefully the gentleman over there. All right. Well, anyhow, I need to open the nominations for the third time tonight.
Reed, you cannot do that, so I'm going to take it from you.
Oh, you got to do it.
You pay attention to your constitution and your bylaws. Quit being tyranny. Oh, wait.
Yeah, probably.
Good thing we know how to joke around here, right? All right, just gotta make sure it's done accordingly. So, as Reed said, we need a call. Last time, I have not had anybody call me or get on the internet or ask me any questions if they wanted to run. So at this time, does anybody like to run? Stand up and say your name. Vote for either Drew's seat, which he's running for president, and or Janet, which is secretary.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Number 2, anybody? Number 3, anybody? Sold to the highest bidder. So, because we didn't really have anybody other than our 2 stepping up to the plate and wanted to take on EHDC and take us further, I just did a simple ballot. It has Andrew and Janet on it. Doesn't need to be signed, but what we're supposed to do is silent proxies. I don't know why we have to do silent proxies. Anybody on Zoom can't do silent proxy. So I don't know how we handle that. But because we are an uncontested seat, I did something totally different. So it says the EHD election chair shall make one of the last calls to the floor, which is what I did. If no one steps in for the 2 open seats after being called from the floor, the election chair shall call for an uncontested election or unopposed position. Who wants to move?
Is that a motion? Do you need a second?
Need a second.
I second it.
Second. All in favor.
Aye.
Automatically wins a 2-year seat.
Now let me formally hand him the mic, okay? One last second.
So what I need to do right here, so that you have it on the record, Janet has it.
All right, I want to thank Drew and Janet for stepping up to serve. We were talking about.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago. Now it's clear, but back then it wasn't. Oh, sure, of course. That's right, one at a time. I barely rate my own age. Okay. All right, guys, I am, come on, just get up. Let's go. Be silly. Just-
Only talk you. And you know that I was talking about, never have.
Yeah. That's all right. All right, this is my official EHDC microphone. And I'm going now former ex president of EHD. I'm very pleased. And the mic and the title and the responsibility to Mr. Vaughn. And I know you'll do well. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. How about that?
You hear that? Reed just promised to be quiet.
Yeah, duct tape through?
What I got a sergeant in arms for. All right. The purpose of this organization is to get Democrats elected. So we're going to start off with something a little bit different. I do have a strategic plan that we're going to talk about for what I'd like to see, where we're going to go for the next 2 years. But I want to start off with one of our Democratic candidates, Robert People, right over here. Can you come up and tell us a little about yourself? Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Robert People. I'm running for U.S. Congress, U.S. House of Representatives for Congressional District 15. That's Laurel Lee is the current representative there. So the reason I'm here, and thank you for allowing me to speak through, and thank you all for listening. The reason I want to run a little bit of background.
You're fine, you're fine.
A little bit of background. I'm former military.
If that's too much for you, can stand it either.
No, it's fine for me. I just want to make sure I'm not doing that. So, and thank you. I appreciate that. And the reason I'm running is because I want to be front lines of this fight. I'm looking around the room now and I see a lot of despair, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, and I want to be part of. I want to go back to serving. So I want to go and be part of the solution, not to be cliche, but that's really what instead of talking, but at the with the election that we watched, and I know a lot of us felt the same way. We watched the states continue to flip red. I was just sitting there like, I want to do something more than just sit here and talk. I want to just sit here and talk. I want to do something better. So that's largely what we want to do. I don't want to take up too much time, but I definitely would like to. Can I make a question too? Yeah, okay. But what I want to do is find out from you all what's some of what you feel needs to be done. Basically, what would you need from me if I'm, once I make the comments, or even something that I can.
Check our social security.
Social security, that's definitely something I want to go after and make sure that we are protected. Yes, absolutely.
Get rid of Elon Musk.
Yeah. The first, yeah, that's definitely the first. That's definitely the first thing.
Take the money out of elections. It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Right, especially as a beginner when you get in. Sure, it'd be difficult. But that would be my goal is let's get the money out of elections.
Yeah.
Because too many of these big time money people are buying elections.
And that's what I said. That's what I said when I do my lives on TikTok and speak to people. I say, yeah, that's why we're constantly asking for donations, contributions, and such, because of that. A lot of these politicians,
Oligarch.
they basically buy their way in, and that's why. Yep, yeah, absolutely. They're on both sides, and that's why it seems like once they get to a certain spot, once they get up there, they completely abandon their decision because they don't. It's like they don't. they bought their way in, they have the money, they feel like that's good. That's why I believe we're seeing what we are with the Republicans and basically just abandoning not showing up for these towns, or being told not to. So that's it.
I just wanted to tie in with what she said.
Mhm.
Super PACs, there's a problem. That money can disappear, be used for anything.
Excuse me,
You know, so
that mic has to be passed to whoever's talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you can say what I said.
Okay, so the super PACs, you said the money can disappear. Okay,
Or money does disappear once they get it. Where the regulations are.
okay, that makes sense.
Universal early childcare and education.
Okay, that's a.
That is a very core component of so many of the other issues. That's sort of like, kind of like a domino effect. Because if you're a parent and you don't have childcare, it's hard to get a job,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
But you have to have a job in order to qualify for the childcare, right? So not only are kids going to kindergarten not ready, but it's even earlier than that, right? So I think a lot of other issues would improve if we had early universal access to childcare and education.
Okay, early universal access to childcare and education. Okay, thank you.
I'm not being facetious when I say this, but we have an election in another 18 months, as you know, you're running for it. And I hope that the Democrats take control of both houses of Congress. And I think one of the priorities ought to be the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Yes.
That's something. And I mean, impeach and remove and prosecute, because what he's doing to the country is treasonous. And I use that word carefully, but it is treason.
Yeah.
If you look at what he's doing to everything, he's putting people in jail who investigated him, and you know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. He needs to be held accountable, and the Republicans too.
The ballot box, unfortunately, it's 18 months away.
Yes, thank you. And let me get, and, okay.
What's your background and what, are you just running as a grassroots?
Yes, I'm running as grassroots. This is my first time running here. I ran from the school board when I was stationed in Fabulous Stone. But I wanted to do this for a long time. Really, now I'll wrap this up, but I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and whenever we would go visit, and I'm looking at how it's, the area that I grew up in, it's kind of falling apart, nothing, but not much has changed. So that's sort of what really got me into it, because I was constantly talking about, what I would do. I was saying to my, ex-wife at the time, I could just, do something now. I want to make something happen.
We have one of your governors on.
Mark, go about it.
Thank you.
Now, yeah, came to, Twin City Center. Talk about social security.
Yes,
Here.
that's
Great.
what I
Great
heard.
turnout.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what I heard, it went pretty well. So, but thank you, I wanted to thank you for introduce myself, and I have some cards, if you're okay, if I could pass. Those out, please.
Okay.
But, okay, that's it, so again, our people running for District 15.
Thank you.
Real quick, before we move on, Robert has been everywhere over the last couple of weeks. He and I sat together at the Florida Democratic Party elections while we saw our DNC delegates getting elected. He was just at the Plant City meeting the other day. And if you follow him on social media, you'll see that in his neighborhood, he saw something that was a problem, which was a stop sign where kids cross the street to get to a bus stop. He got on social media, and in less than 2 hours, he had that problem fixed. They came out and they got a stop sign replaced in less than 2 hours. The Robert people went out and got it done. That's the kind of representative that we need in this area. Misty, can you pass out those sheets? All right, so I operate on a little bit of a different approach. Anticipating being elected today, I went ahead and created a strategic plan for us. Well, what do we need to do to actually beat the hell out of the Republicans? Because frankly, I have been horrifically disappointed to get to see behind the curtain of how the Democrats actually operate this stuff. We don't have a strategic plan at the county level at this point. We're going to have one here. We're going to build the most powerful political organization in this entire state, starting tonight, right here. let's talk about how we're gonna do that. All right, right now, every one of you is getting handed a sheet that has a map of what this plan is going to look like. And I am asking you each to write down what is the issue that is most important to you. So similar to what Robert was asking about, but I don't want to hear just what we want to fix. I want to hear for you personally, what is the issue you would like to see change? And the reason I want to start there is we are going to save these and have our book of why we are here and why we are all doing this, right? Because I'll tell you, we are going to get kicked in the teeth again and again while we try to save this country. It's going to happen. We have to remember why we're here. So what I'd like for everybody to do is write down what is the number one issue that you would like to see solved in this country. If you need a pen, I got a couple of spares here. Just one, all right. Anybody else need a pen? Now I'll tell you, for me, I have kind of a pie in the sky one of ending racism. I know that that is one that for most people will seem like an absurd idea. But I will tell you, as the father of 4 adopted kids who are Black and Latino, that is near and dear to my heart. But the reality is, just like Martin Luther King said, we can't legislate hate out of people's hearts. But what we can do is put rules in place to protect people like my children every single day, so that I don't have to be terrified when I go to school to pick them up that they might not be there. And so that's my why. That's my number one reason here. Does anybody feel comfortable sharing what your most important issue is? What's the thing you'd most like to see fixed? If you could see it done in this country?
For healthcare, doctor, you bet.
I have water, because if you don't have water, the doctor, school, everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah, so water, everyone should have access to water.
Clean water.
We've had, everyone should have access to healthcare. We can get that. I mean,
Adding the push of privatized education in federal.
amen. I'm married to a former public school teacher. I'm right there with you. Yes, Walt.
I would like to see an end to lobby money controlling Congress.
Amen.
I think none of us, what we want to do is possible as long as the lobbyists have more money and voice than we do.
Absolutely. And we are going to address some of that in this plan where we have to play within the battlefield we're in, which means we're going to have to address money and use it to our favor. But I absolutely agree with you. If we could change just one thing in politics that would create the largest difference in how federal politics runs, it would be removing money from those elections. And I know that sounds lame, but if we took that money out, all of a sudden, a lot of the things that are problems in this country could be addressed. All right, so everybody fill those out. I want to collect those at the end, and we're going to save them in a book for this group. And every time we get somebody new here, we're going to ask them to sign up and tell us what their most important issue is and why they're here. All right? Now, we're talking about what is it that we want to fix. And I'm not the first person to come along and say, hey, let's figure out what the issue is. The question is, how do we get there? And most people don't take the time to think through what that is. Well, not me, I'm a giant freaking dork. So I made a freaking plan for us, and we're going to talk about it. At its core, our strategy for the next 2 years boils down to this: stop talking and start doing. I will tell you, I have hated most of the minutes I've spent in these meetings just talking about nonsense. I hate sitting here and not accomplishing things. I want us to do things in the community. I want us to register voters. I want us to help turn out the vote. And I want us to solve problems in this community that shows the community Democrats are here to help. Now, most of you know me as the guy who gets up and yells a lot.
No.
I know, it's shocking, right? The guy.
Hey, I got used to it. I'm ready for you.
I'm down, not president anymore. Can't talk that.
Read your promise to say that. So, why should any of you listen to me? Not just because I yell, but I'm just a regular guy, just like the rest of you. That's me as a kid.
Yeah, here.
I grew up poor on a chicken and turkey farm in the middle of rural West Central Illinois. When I say rural, We still don't have cell phone coverage there.
Wow.
If we wanted to change the channel for the TV, it was a two-person job. Because you had to go out to the antenna, which had a wrench attached to it, and you had to point the antenna at the town where the other channel came from. And so one of you would open the window and look at the TV, the other one would go outside and pull the wrench until the TV went from fuzzy to where you could see it. So when I say I'm from the country and I grew up without access to a lot, that's what I'm talking about. Now, despite coming from that, I worked to get out of the poverty of being on a chicken and turkey farm. And I went on to do a lot of other stuff. I went to Augustana College where I got a degree in Swedish, English, and political science. Then I went on to law school at Loyola Law School, and I studied international law at Oxford University. I ended up becoming the youngest partner in law firm history in Chicago. I made partner by 30. I became a law school professor at the age of 28. I was named one of the top 10 attorneys in the state of Illinois because I went undefeated as a litigator. I then took those talents as a lawyer and I said, hey, I need to understand more about business. So I went to Notre Dame and I got my MBA in business. And I started doing marketing for my own law firm. I ultimately launched a marketing firm and I've been named one of the top 100 marketers in the world. And my marketing agency has been named one of the 5 most innovative marketing agencies. I've also won Ad of the Year twice. While doing that, I built a tool on accident that was a little bit too powerful and I could identify who worked at Area 51 based on Facebook data. Had to turn that into the federal government, and then I got interested in cybersecurity because I was like, I really don't want to do that again. And so I started studying that. As a result, I'm now ranked in the top 5% of hackers in the world. Taking that combination, and I ended up at the same time studying to get a certificate in data analytics at MIT. Taking all of that academic background, that background as a lawyer, that background as a marketer, and that background in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence came onto the field. I then became someone, I had flown around the world to give lectures all over the place about artificial intelligence and its intersection with business and law. So I bring those things here, of being a lawyer, a marketer, understanding cybersecurity and AI, and I want to apply that stuff to politics. Now, having that background, I will tell you, as a lawyer, I was named one of the top 10 lawyers in the state. As a marketer, I've been named one of the top 100 marketers in the world. As a hacker, I'm in the top 5%. And in AI, I own an AI company here in Florida, and people pay to hear me talk about it. I've been at the top of every single one of those things. I'm going to bring that exact same type of energy to politics here. We are going to become the most powerful political organization in Florida. That's what the East Hillsborough Democrats are going to be. Now, why am I doing this myself? Well, that's me and my wife on our first date. We were 19.
Hold up.
Yeah. All that hair up there.
Okay.
Move down here.
We done.
I'm in the process of the migration.
Once you're back.
Yeah, much like Dan has retired and moved south. So, we met when we were 19, and my wife has less rights today than she did when we met. That is unacceptable. We've adopted 4 kids. These are my children. My daughter JJ, who's 11, she has to hear in school that slavery was a positive. We're not doing that. My other 3 kids are all Mexican American. They have to hear at school, like, hey, you need to be prepared to tell people that you're a citizen. That's not acceptable. So when you ask, why does a guy who's got a law degree and an MBA and studied at Oxford and MIT and all these fancy places, why am I here? It's because of that. Because of my wife and my kids. And so if we want to see somebody who will fight to the death, find somebody who cares about their family, and I guarantee every single one of you feels just like I do. You have these same concerns for your kids, for your grandkids, to make sure that they are protected, just like I want my kids to be protected. That's why I'm here. Now, I would love to tell you, because I used to watch Westerns with my dad all the time, that this is like the scene, right? Where like, oh, we got a guy with a lot of skills and he's real mad, he's got a reason to fight. And that this is this scene where like, you called down the thunder, well here it is. Unfortunately, that's not how it's gonna work. Right? I wish that that's how it worked. That's not how it's gonna work. And we know this from our civil rights organizers and our community organizers that it is not enough for people to be angry. Our task is to organize and unite people so their anger becomes a transforming. That is where the Democrats have fallen short again and again and again. We get angry, we go downtown to Tampa and we protest, and then nothing changes. Now, one thing, why? Because all we're doing is being angry without a plan. We're gonna have a plan now. This is our plan. Now, I'm someone who likes to have a visual map of what we're gonna do. So let's talk about each of these components. It starts with the work. I'm not offering you anything easy. As the president, I'm not looking to make this easy on any of us. And I won't ask you to do anything that I won't be doing. We're gonna do the work to help this community in a couple of ways. We're gonna make sure that we are doing things in our community to make people's lives better, and we are gonna do it visibly. They're gonna see that we are the Democrats while we do it. We are going to grow this place from about 16 people. We're gonna grow larger. We're gonna go through each of these steps in more detail later. We're then gonna acquire money, volunteers, and voters. Why? Because that is how we actually influence the politicians. I wish that we could get the money out of this. We can't. We can't, but I got a plan for us for something that no other club in this state has ever done. Using that, we're gonna have influence finally, and that's how we're gonna do good. We're going to change this state by building a system out, having a plan, and using the systems and structures that exist in this state against itself, just like a hacker would. Now, let's talk about the work. When we do work, we are going to find things in the community that need to be done, and we're going to focus on one of three categories for each thing that we try to solve: health, wealth, and children. Why? This is a strategy straight from a book called Never Eat Lunch Alone. It was a networking book about how to build a network and get people to be loyal to you. What did they say? They said if you can help someone with their health, with their wealth, or with their children, they will never forget you. We're going to do the exact same thing politically. We are going to focus on ways that we can help this community with either its health, its wealth, or its children, and this community will never forget that it was the Democrats that did it. Now, we don't have money, we don't have power. That doesn't mean that we can't change things. This is the corner of 55th and Market in Oakland. And 55th and Market in Oakland, kids were getting run over on the way to school. The Black Panthers went to the community, went to the government and said, hey, we need a stoplight here. Government said, it's gonna take 1 to 3 years for us to get you a stoplight. So what did the Black Panthers do? They put on their vests, their berets, and grab their guns. And it turns out when you go stand in an intersection with a gun, people don't run you over. They will stop and let those kids cross the street. And so if you look, you can see right here, there's this little yellow sign. This is that yellow sign. Between June and August, the Black Panthers standing there with guns changed this entire area. And what they did is they got a stoplight at that intersection and kids stopped getting hurt. And they stopped getting run over. How? How did that happen?
Is that going?
You got Chris?
It's all right. So what they were able to do is get a stoplight at that intersection at 55th and Market. And just like us, we had, I think we had what, 60 members or something like that, 60 as of the end of the year, something close to that. We had $1,000 in the bank, I think, all of a sudden, our next last report. We're not too far off the Black Panthers. Didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot of people to start off with. But what they did was they cared about the community and they got out there and they did something about it. That's what we're gonna do. We don't have to have money and power to be able to help change things in the community. Now, how are we going to find projects that people need? I told you about how Robert went out and was able to get a stop sign, just like the Black Panthers did. Robert went out there and got a stop sign fixed in his neighborhood in a couple of hours. Where are we going to find this? That's where I'm going to lean on you guys. But we are going to go out and we're going to go to places like Echo. Echo helps all kinds of not-for-profits, and they actually have a not-for-profit roundtable every single month where all the
doing
not-for-profits out here in Silver Can you just turn that off?
It's not asking me to kill the video, the audio before I log on. So I can't do
You
this.
turn this volume down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on a Mac, it doesn't, on an iPad, that doesn't work all the way, so that's a little bit of audio. That's why I join without audio when I'm using computer.
All right, so what we're looking to do is find projects in the community that they need help with. And we've already done this. So last month at Echo's meeting, I was sitting there and I said, hey, I'm from the Democrats. I just want to listen and see if there's anything we can do to help. And they had an organization that was helping the immigrants. And they had a guy who they had managed to get a $300 grant for him. And they could do one of two things. They could either give him a bed and a table and a little hot plate so that he could make more meals, or they could pay for his next month's rent. Said, can anybody help us with a bed and a table and these things? I put it out on social media, and in under 24 hours, we had this man a brand new bed, brand new mattress, and a table and chairs. We delivered those personally and made sure that he got them, and that means he got an extra month in his house, in the room that he was renting, which gave him the stability of trying to get a job and get stable and get settled in his time. Those are the kind of things that we can do in this organization. We can get out there and practically help people. And we can find it in places where you don't see Democrats all the time. You know what? You don't see us in churches or other religious organizations as often as you used to. You don't see us in chambers of commerce. You don't see us in the Scouts. Molly here, who I've met in the Scouts. Kids are in Scouts together. There are a lot of places we could be, but there are no Democrats, and we can start finding people, help us find problems in the community that we want to address. So, what are we gonna need now? One of the first things I want to do is form a community service committee, where we are going to find projects to do in this community as a group, so that we can solve problems and be out there in the streets, making this community better, not 10 years from now, today. Now, that was the work. Let's talk about people. Now, last time I checked, we had about 16 paid members. By this time next year, I want that number to be 160. Now, how are we going to do that? We need to start actively recruiting. Now, that active recruiting of additional members and everybody in here to help with that. And we're also going to do some things with our location to make this easier. If we just go straight up Falkenberg, you know what's up there? Hillsborough Community College. What's at Hillsborough Community College? A bunch of young freaking people. No offense, old people, we need less gray hair in this world. Right? I agree. Right? When you guys think I'm the young guy, I've got 4 kids and gray hair in the beard, that's not a good sign. We gotta do better than that. We can go straight up the street, rent a room at Hillsborough Community College, and all of a sudden we can handle a much bigger group. We can be easily accessible to people and remove those roadblocks to people showing up. And we don't have to stay at one location. We can rotate locations every couple of months to make it easy for people to get to us wherever they are. We want to be where the people are. We want to make this as easy as possible to attend and engage with us so they can see who we are and what we want to do. So what else do we need right now? Tonight, I also want to start a membership and recruiting committee so that we can start building up the membership in this organization. Because if we don't have the work and we don't have the people, we won't be able to accomplish anything. Now, what's the next thing that we need? The next thing that we're going to need is this big wide tier of money, volunteers, and voters. So let's talk about that. Money, volunteers, and voters. How can we possibly do this? Well, here's the thing. Most people ignore clubs like us because we have a $500 limit in terms of what we can contribute to a candidate. So we've had a number of people tonight talk about the problem of money in politics. The reason that politicians ignore us is they can get $500 from anyone, right? This entire club can only donate $500 to a candidate. It's in our bylaws, it's under the FDP bylaws, we're kind of hamstrung by it. Now, what if I told you there's a workaround for this? Like, I don't know, let's say that your new president was a lawyer or something. So, I went and read the freaking laws, figure out what can we do. There is a type of organization called a PC, or a political committee, that can be formed in Florida. Now, do you know what the contribution limit in terms of running ads or other unaffiliated things for politicians is for a PC? Infinity. It's unlimited. We can raise as much money as we want and actually have influence on these politicians. And I know we wish money was out of politics, but it's not. We gotta play by the rules that are in the game right now. Yes,
That
sir.
500 thing is a FTP.
Yeah.
Thing, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if we're a pack or not, we still can't do more than $500.
But you know what can happen? You can form a PC that's adjacent to the EHDC that can do anything we want. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
You know how I know it applies to us? Take a look at the law. It's even right here, where I read. You know who a person is who can start a PC?
It's like, what do you think?
We're a club. Oh my God. The law specifically says we have the right to do this. No club has ever done this in the entirety of the state of Florida. You know why? Because they don't have lawyers running them and reading the rules.
This club was formed as a pack. We got rid of it when they did the law saying, when the FTP said, you can't give money, I don't care what you want.
Correct, but we can form a PC on the side, which can do anything we want.
You're gonna have to name it something else besides DH.
We can't use the name Democrat, but
Yeah.
EHDC can be anything. So. Now, we then can use independent expenditures for absolutely anything to support these candidates. Now, these candidates will listen to us. If we actually have the ability to throw something more at them, than the ability to show up to a meeting with 16 people and maybe give them $500 come election time. This is how we actually get influence. This is how we actually change things. By reading the rules, by finding workarounds, and by doing creative stuff. And I expect pushback. I like to hear the pushback because we have to do that. Because I will tell you, I'm gonna push every rule to its maximum limit possible. Why? Because I want to protect my wife, protect my kids, and protect all of your families. I'm gonna push every last one of these rules to the very edge of what we can do, because that's what we have to do. This is not a time where we can sit back and say, hey, let's all be nice and play by the rules we've always played by. Exactly. It is time for good to be as devious as evil. Yes,
Because that's what they're doing to us.
exactly. And we need someone willing to punch them back. Well, guess what? That's who your new president. Now, we can offer unlimited independent exposures for independent expenditures for this by forming a PC in conjunction with what we're doing. That's something that we will be doing. That will not be one of our first action items, because first we got to start doing the work and we got to build the people up. Right now, when we have the people, guess what? We got the volunteers, right? We're going to have people who can contribute to all of these campaigns. Now, we also will be able to help make voters show up. How? We're going to do that work. We're going to help register voters. We're going to help turn out voters, because that is what we have to do to get people to pay attention to us. Politicians need all three of these things. We can provide them. How are we going to be able to provide voters in a way that nobody else can? I don't know. Let's think about it. Maybe we had someone who owned an artificial intelligence company, and maybe we could do something that no other club can do. Like get access to data like this. I'm the precinct captain in precinct 833. Now, this is information straight from the supervisor of elections, all public record. Names, address, city, state, zip code. It'll tell you their race, their gender, when they were born, what districts they're in, etc. Now, this is where we can do something that nobody else can, because of the technology that I have access to. The supervisor of election does not give you everybody's phone number. Supervisor of election gives you almost nobody's email. Notice there's a Drew phone and a Drew email. That's stuff that we can add using artificial intelligence programs that I created here in Florida. Now, what does that mean? This is what it does to that data. This is my precinct using only supervisor of election information. I've got less than half the phone numbers and only about a quarter of the emails. If you take the artificial intelligence data that I can add to it, we jump to 83% and 83% of phone numbers, 75% of emails. When you combine it, assuming my data is better, which I will tell you it is because I sell this to private corporations, and then assume that the supervisor of election data will fill in where it's a blank, we get to 92% of phone numbers and 82% of emails. That's the kind of data that can completely change what we do for voters. Now, what can we do with that? Well, we can market directly to all of these people. So let's say, I don't know, we wanted to grow the membership from 16 to 160. How could we do that? Well, on social media now, guess what? We can find every single one of those people running ads to them. We also can find them all over the place because with this data, you can find anybody anywhere. We also can have additional information through this artificial intelligence that nobody else has. Here, I've ranked people on a score out of 0 to 5, based on how many times have they voted in the last 5 elections, Democrats can vote in. You can see we got all of our 5s here are votes by mail here at the top of this particular data set. We also know, do they have children? What's their estimated wealth? Why is this handy for us? Well, what if we're looking for donations, right? What if we're knocking on their doors and we want to know what issues might be important to them? Knowing if they've got kids is an important thing, right? Knowing they've got less than $1 of wealth is really important. Being able to engage with them in a real way when we knock on the door, not just they're like, hey, will you vote for us? Which is the worst possible way to engage with a human being. We can take data and do this better than anybody else on the planet because nobody else has this because I built it. We can find out what their homes were, what their marital status is, whether they're a homeowner. You think renters don't want to own a home? Of course they do, but they can't freaking afford it in this state, right? They homeowners might not want to move. Some do, but if they sell it, what are they going to do? They can't get another home. They can't afford it. We can get their income, years of school, how long they've been here. We have all kinds of information that we can use to get people engaged here in Brandon. And we've got 17,000 Democrats just in Brandon. 17,000. We need 1 in 1,000 people from that data set to show up to this meeting to hit the end of the year recruiting goal of 160 people. That's not a real high ask, right? We can get to this real easy. And now, talking about having money, we got volunteers, we got voters. This is a plan that we can actually implement today. Now, in business, when you talk about strategy, that MBA I got from Notre Dame was in strategy and marketing. In strategy, what you're looking for is what's called a competitive advantage. What can you do that no one else can do? What can you offer that no one else can offer? No other club in this entire state will be able to do what we can do with the money, at least as of currently, if we incorporate this idea of adding a PC on once we get established. No other club is going to have access to any of this type of data because they don't have a meeting, right? This is us. We actually have a competitive advantage here where we're going to have things that no other club in this entire state has. What does that give us? Influence. Why? Because these politicians don't know how to get this data. And if somebody can show up and say, I got money, I got volunteers, I got a pipeline straight to voters, what do you think those politicians are going to do? They will start paying attention to the regular people that are in this room for the first time. For the first time. Once we have that influence, we can use it to actually get out there and do some good, right? Not just the projects and the things that we're doing, the things that will already be directly helping the community, but we can now do those things that we talked about to start this off. What was your big issue? What was the issue you want to solve? Feeding everybody, feeding everybody and free education. These are great goals. We can't get it done right now. You know why? They don't care that we're passionate about it. They don't care that that's what your dream is. What they care about is money, voters, and the power of volunteers to show up, get stuff done. We can provide that. We have to understand the levers of power as they actually exist. Okay? Now, within the next year, we're going to want to do these other things. We're going to need to add a communications committee so we can tell people what we are doing in a more effective way. We are going to need a data committee because we need to have data inform every single one of the decisions that we're making, ranging from the work all the way down to how we're doing good, right? We're going to need a finance and compliance committee. Walt does a great job. You think Walt can set up a PC and run all this stuff by himself? Walt is going to need some support, right? We're going to need a donor committee to help fill that PC with funds. And that's something we're going to have to decide as a group. We want to seek out larger dollar donors. We want to keep small dollar donors. That's something we have to decide. That's something we will decide as a team. Well, I'm a president, I'm not a dictator, right? I'm here because you guys want me to be here. I'm here to help with this, but all I wanna do is give the plan and then unleash you guys like a horde of rabid goblins on this. So we can start fixing these problems. Right? Now, we talked about the issues that are important to us. I'm gonna collect all of these sheets so that we can keep these, so that when we get kicked in the teeth, because you know, this sounds real rosy, right? Like I got a plan, nobody else has a plan, this is something we can do. Right? This is something I would love to say, like, yeah, we're gonna win every single time. We're not. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose repeatedly. This is the reality check. Right? If it was easy, it would have been done already. Right? If it was easy, it would have already been freaking done. It's not gonna be easy. I'm not offering you anything easy, I'm offering you a bunch of hard work. This is not gonna happen fast. All we're gonna be doing is working hard and trying to make a difference. Trying. I can't guarantee that we will succeed. I can guarantee I'm gonna ask you to do hard work, but I won't ask you to do anything that I won't do. But if we want people to have food, we want people to have water, we want healthcare, that's not gonna happen by us sitting in the back of a bowling alley, listen to some this professor talk about the goddamn federals. It's not gonna get the job done. What it's gonna take is us getting out there and doing the freaking work. Getting organized and understanding that the levers of power that actually move this country are money, volunteers, and voters. And when we can provide that, we suddenly get a seat at the table. All of us in this room can start having the things that we want to have happen. Now, why do I have Genghis Khan? I want to tell you a story about Genghis Khan. Most people know of him as like the great conqueror, right? Genghis Khan was born the son of a chief. His father was poisoned and he died. At that point, Genghis Khan was taken and put into slavery. He was a slave and he escaped. When he ultimately escaped, he started building up some followers. And he started, once he had those followers, he ended up going into battle. And he was doing well for a little bit, then he got his butt kicked. When he got his butt kicked, he was on the run. He had only 5 people with him. 5 people with him. Now, flash forward from those 5 people. He became the greatest conqueror in the history of the world. What he did was the equivalent to an enslaved person here in the United States having risen up, conquering all of North America, all of Central America, and most of South America. That's how much land he conquered. No one comes close to this man in terms of land acquisition through conquest. Now let's go back to those 5 people. Those 5 people who were with him, he always called those who drank the dirty water with me. What did he mean? Well, when they were on the run, they had no supplies. They had nothing. They were in the middle, they were outside of the Gobi Desert. And they were forced to drink the water out of the footprints of their horses. That was the dark water. The 5 people who were with him drank that water with him. And they were with him to his dying day. And he listened to them. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to have times just like that, where it's going to feel like we can conquer the world. And then it's going to feel like we've lost everything. But I guarantee you that the people who drink the dirty water, the people who drink the dark water in this room, when we keep pushing for this, we're going to be just like him. We're going to have an opportunity to change this world in ways that we can't even imagine. To do that, you got to stop talking, start doing. So, what do we need to do tonight? We need a community service committee and a membership and recruiting committee today. That's what I want to start off. I'm looking for 3 volunteers to start each committee so that we can start working on this type of service. Do we have anybody who's interested in volunteering for the community service committee? All right.
Can you explain what the duties are?
Yeah, so community service, what we're going to try to do with the community service committee is find projects for us in the community to help and do good. So that'll be talking to not-for-profits. That'll be talking to our neighbors. That'll be coming up with digital things that we can do right from this room. Okay? And that way we can get started immediately making an impact. So we've got 2 right here. We have 1 more. All right, we got 5 people. All right, hang
I'll
on.
do the other.
Misty, can you write down all 5 names for, the community service committee? We got 2 right here, plus you, and these 2 ladies up front. All right,
Unless you want me on the other committee, because I can do that too.
okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Membership and recruiting committee. Do we have anybody who'd be interested in helping trying to get us people in this room? Because we are going to need people who are in charge of helping us figure out how we are going to get more people involved here.
Okay, I'll be number 1 on that one.
Okay,
I'll get on
perfect. Yes, in the back. Todd? Nice to meet you. We only talked on the phone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anybody can volunteer. East Hillsborough has no defined territory, right? Or east.
Drew, you have another one right
There you
here.
go, write it down.
All right. Misty, can you also create this assignment sheet for the membership and
It's
recruiting?
on the flip side.
Perfect. So then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna reach out to everybody on each of these committees, and then we're gonna coordinate what we are doing here as part of our strategic plan, so that we can make sure that we are enacting. Now, here's the thing. One of the reasons that Genghis Khan was so effective as a conqueror, he did not micromanage his people. You know what he did? He let them know what the plan was, and they went out and they enacted that plan to the best of their ability out in the field. That's what I'm gonna wanna see here. I don't wanna be telling people what to do. What I wanna see is creativity. I wanna see people exercising their own authority to say, hey, I have an idea, I wanna get out there and do it. Okay? So when we get in these committees, I'm not asking you to follow my lead, I'm asking you to help lead me. I want you to be involved in this, to have ownership of it, and to take this place over, because this state is ours for the taking. All right, what questions do we have?
What are you doing are you doing the same thing as the EHDC?
I would love to, but we have some challenges there, so we're not there yet.
Very diplomatic. Thing is fine.
Yeah, but we can do the things that I would love to see all of our political organizations doing right here. Right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was just saying, hey, working for Obama, she got tons and tons of voters signed up at HCC.
Yes.
That's something that we can do, right? We just have to be out in this community, actually doing things. Sitting in a bowling alley isn't gonna get it done. We are going to start changing locations as we start to grow, because frankly, this room isn't gonna be able to hold that many more people. My goal is within the next 3 months for us to have a new location to move into that will be larger and can house the people we are going to start recruiting in. Okay? In the next meeting, we will talk about what our committees are doing. And we will talk about what we can do in terms of direct action. That's outside of what our committees are doing in terms of using apps like Live Calls, using some of the digital stuff that we can do to get out there and make a difference today right from this room. Okay? All right. That's it. Yes.
Mail ballot, you have to do it now every year.
Yes.
It's one of the rules that they change. Every new election cycle, you have to read it in your wand.
Correct. So what she was, what the comment was up here, so we can hear it on Zoom as well, is in terms of vote by mail. After every general election, you are removed from the vote by mail registry, and you have to re-register to vote by mail. Now, one of the things that is very interesting about that, when I went through the data, our most consistent Democratic voters vote by mail. Vote by mail. Republicans aren't dumb, they're doing this on purpose, right? And so that's something that we're going to need to do to make sure that we have everybody that wants to vote by mail re-registered, and we can use the data that I pulled for us to be able to find the people in this area so that we can do it. I gotta tell you, we don't have a lot of people from the Hillsborough County Democratic Executive Committee, which is like the party, the Democratic Party for the entire county. We don't have a lot of precinct captains out there. So we have an opportunity to really increase Democratic voter turnout in this county, particularly in this area, because nobody's been paying attention. Nobody's been doing this work out here. We can take it over and do it. And really change how elections go out here. Okay?
Does anyone else need to sign up? I'm jumping in quick.
All right.
Anybody sign in sheet that didn't write down? No?
Everybody sign in? All right, any other questions? All right, perfect, that's it.
I don't know why a lot of clubs are doing a lot of different things out there. If you read my email that I sent out, big things that just go out. Right.
Certainly.
No, and,
Thank you for coming.
they're keeping one.
Is there any others?
Sure, you still grow the advertising.
He's the vice president.
We'll take names and people can put together. But right now, there's probably 20 events happening in the next 2 weeks.
They're all in March, and they're, they're, yeah.
Voter registration and that. So if you got my emails, the last one has a list of all the things that the DEC actually put out on there. I just copied it over. But I could also go into Mobilize and pull out anything in the area and put that in there. If you want to get out and do things, and it's if nothing else, it helps you get over the anger a little bit. Yes.
I just went to a march, on over the weekend for International Women's Day, really great turnout, safety. But the organization I'm following that's posting everything is 5050.1. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's literally FIFTY.ONE 50501. They're posting everything that's available throughout the country.
50/50.
Yeah, 50/50.
They're also responsible for the 50/50 March states. So
Correct. On
when
April
you're doing the
5th.
marches, it's a 50-state march. That's why
Right.
it's the 50/50. I know you guys went to the Social Security down on Sun City. Got anything to say about that? Did you have a good show up? Or?
Yeah.
There were, I think there were 1,500 signed signatures on the original, application, whatever you call it. So we went down and, they had it in the church. There was standing room only. I mean, the place was absolutely filled, and of course it was full on seniors.
Yeah.
Who were concerned about my social security.
Wait, I don't think this mic is working now.
Well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in here. It's only in the
Oh,
Yeah, it's going to the Zoom. It's only going to the Zoom people. You say have to talk loud enough.
There's not a speaker. So when you speak in here to the people in here, you gotta go from the here and get it out.
Martin O'Malley, that's former governor of Maryland. And social security. Encouraged everybody to start writing and calling. We've done that, sending letters to Vernon Buchanan, and encourage everybody else to do it. So if they eliminate social security, there's gonna be some real trouble.
I'll be right.
Everybody encouraged me to get out and get motivated. I know Catherine and worked in Social Security and the President's Day, I went to the march downtown, 50 states. There's probably about 600 or 800 people there. Very small, but very well organized. And the 50/50 people have a very young group of people. It's so nice to see. Very young group of people. In fact, one of the girls I walked up to said, "I know you," and she kind of laughed. I know I'm thinking the county. And she said, "I'm only 21, so I can't." And I said, "Okay." But 21 and they're out there. So those marches are gonna continue every month. And they're gonna continue downtown at the city hall, not at the courthouse, at City Hall. People got confused. And there's also another march along with it, but not on the same day. So there's a lot going on, but that's really a fun way to be able to meet a lot of people. I cruised during the whole day, so. met all kinds of 500 and some people I talked to at least.
Anybody else?
Say something. Echo is a pretty good thing, in Brandon, and they have a huge food drive coming up. And it's gonna be asking people to put stuff in their mailbox, and they're looking for volunteers to help sort all the canned goods and everything, and it'll be at different locations for Echo, but also at the post offices. It would be nice if we had some Democratic t-shirts to put on when we went to volunteer.
I'll talk about that for just 1 second. That's something that we want to do. So, my wife and I, so we own a marketing company and an artificial intelligence company. My wife has already looked at setting up a shop for us so that we can use print on demand services for us to get our own shirts and our own hats or any other apparel that we want. We'll just have to decide what we want to have on it. I think it would be a good idea to have our motto of stop talking, start doing with the East Hillsborough Democrats on it. Maybe the QR code to get people to register to vote, so even the t-shirt is doing work, because that's what we need to be doing, okay? So we will take care of that. Echo, let me give you my, my card so you can reach out to me quickly. I will actually also be at Echo on Thursday, if anybody's interested in hearing what the other non-for-profits in this area are saying their big needs. They have this meeting where they get together on Thursday at, here, I'll get my phone out to check the time. 7:34. On Thursday at 10 a.m., I will be going to Echo. If anybody would like to join me, I'm going to be there to hear what needs we have in the community from the not-for-profits. The not-for-profits know where everybody is falling through the cracks. They know exactly where they are. And so that's a great place for us to find community projects for us to do moving forward, is to find out what they can do. Yes.
We've been doing Echo for like 7 years. We've always been collecting things. We've always collected food, non-perishable items, clothing. We've done sorting for them. So it's not like we haven't had Echo part of the EHDC. In fact, at Christmas time, I have received nice. In my so anyway, but we collected food at Christmas time also. We had filled 2 buggies up with food, and they were absolutely thrilled. So, and they weighed that. So,
And very for
sort of, yeah. Also, Tampa Bay, if you get on Mobilize, once you volunteer for them, if you get mobilized, once you volunteer for some of these food-based companies like Food Tampa Bay, you will get a notice through Mobilize. I decided when unfortunately I had a vacation, but it was for last Saturday. So guys, the new Tampa Bay just opened up down here in Causeway. It's a brand new facility. They're looking for volunteers.
Are we gonna get brief about wearing a party? I worry about saying, I like wearing. I like what you said. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so
I know. You introduced yourself probably as part of the party. That was round.
Yes.
So were they receptive or did they?
yeah, honestly, they were just happy to hear that anybody who might have connections to people who can actually effectuate change, like our politicians, was willing to come and hear what issues they had. And I will tell you, one of the people I mentioned that for the immigrant who was sleeping on the ground, the person who donated that bed was Patty Alonso, who ran for county commission in this last round. So we're talking about we can get people like Robert, people like Patty, people like our existing politicians to get out there and get involved just by using whatever access to influence we have. So they were very excited to hear that anybody wanted to listen to them, which I can tell you, I've been on the board of a number of not-for-profits, Green Bay Lake, public schools in Chicago, and I will tell you, anytime I've been on the board of a not-for-profit, if anybody is willing to listen to us, we're just happy, right? And that was the reception. So I can understand the, hey, maybe we don't want to be wearing shirts, and maybe they don't want it to seem like it's political. We need to be wearing shirts. People need to know that it's the Democrats showing up and doing this good. Dave is a great example where Dave is part of the leadership of the LGBTQ caucus. He's also on the board of the EHDC with me. And they have great shirts that they wear and make it clear, we are here as part of the Democratic LGBTQ caucus. When they go out and knock doors, when they get involved in the community, yeah, we just need people to know that we are out there doing the work. So, some people may not like it, honestly, that's the number of people that won't like it will be less than the people we'll draw in by showing them that we are the Democrats and we are here to.
So that was especially, they put the vice chair for outreach, so one of the vice chairs in the EC with Drew. I'm also telling your election, by the way. March 29th, Pride, and wear your t-shirt. Yes, to show the LGBTQ plus community that the Democrats stand with.
Tampa, right?
Tampa Pride.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll forward you the link.
Awesome. And we'll circulate,
Yes.
circulate to everybody.
Wait. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and so, and that's an interesting point, and I think that's something we're gonna have to address in the group. So we talked about seeing people out in their MAGA gear, and potentially confronting them or talking to them. And I will tell you that I wanna talk about who we are as Democrats.
Then we get out of here.
For a second. Because I will tell you, when you see these posts online about some Trump voter that lost their job because now Elon has taken an axe to whatever organization they work for, it is really easy to be like, oh yeah, that, yeah, you know, the FAFO, I'm going to use the actual word. Use it. Find out. And so, it is very tempting to fall in the trap of wanting to celebrate that. Now, that is someone who lost their job. One of the foundations of community organizing is to take a piece of paper, draw a line down it, and figure out how to get almost everybody on your side of the line, and only a couple of evil bastards on the other side, right? That's what we want to do. Now I ask you, if you lost your job, if somebody was laughing about it and saying FAFO and these types of things, do you think that's someone that we can ultimately get to our side of the paper? No, it is not. So I will tell you, man, would it feel good to rub that in some people's faces, to tell them, told you so? We can say it in here if we want to when we're not being recorded, but we cannot be saying this out there on social media. We can't be saying it directly to people. What we have to be focused on are the 95% of things that we agree on, right? And now, this is one where I have a lot of experience. One of those opening slides was me on this chicken and turkey farm as a kid. And that is bright red Trump country. And when I say I'm from bright red Trump country, my uncle has handed me an AR-15 in a church parking lot. So we're talking like I am from the heart of Trump country. And so one of the things that I have to do all the time is engage with family members who are very opposite from being political, right? So I've had to try basically every strategy known to man to talk to them. One of the things, a couple of things that I have found successful, when you actually know the person, starting with, I know you to be a good person. I know you to be a good man. I know you to be a good woman. I know you to be a good human. However you want to phrase it. That is a great starting point because it immediately disarms the conversation, right? Then focusing on things where there's the 95% that people agree on. Where we're talking about, you know what? Republicans hate just as much as us, all these wealthy people being in control of the country. They hate it just as much. I'm telling you, the next time you're in line at Publix, the next time you're at Kohl's, wherever it is that you're shopping for whatever. If you see somebody who's in a conservative shirt, start talking about how CEOs treat us. Start talking about how CEOs treat us. And they will be right in line with you. Now look. There are going to be hard lines that we have to draw. I have a black daughter and 3 Latino kids. There are lines with Republicans that I can't cross. And you're going to have those same lines. But we have to focus on where we can find some common ground. And I'm going to give you an easy example. I am the vice president of the Democratic Party in Hillsborough. The first 2 friends that I made here are a guy named Chris and a guy named Ted. They own a Second Amendment armory here in Brandon. Now, they own the Second Amendment armory. Who do you think they vote for? Well, right? Now, when people see us together, they're like, how are you guys friends? And here's how. The very first time I interacted with these two guys, they were running a not-for-profit event to help veterans. Okay? And I said, hey, we are a marketing company. This was to help veterans through the Chamber of Commerce. I said, my company will donate a website. We often charge $25,000 to build a website for people. Like, we'll donate this, raffle it off, give it to a veteran. Now, it wasn't about our politics. It was about an issue that we agreed on, that veterans should be taken care of in this country. Now, by doing that, do you know what's happened? We're able to have conversations. And I'm not saying we agree on everything. We don't. But we can have conversations about how we want to move it forward. And I will tell you, if you want to learn how to do this well, talk to someone who's in a union. Talk to someone who is in a union or has been in a union. You know why? Because unions are perpetually dealing with people on all sides of the political aisle. They frankly have some of the freest discourse of any place in this country, where they will talk about all of it, you know, better than any of us, right? And so when you talk to someone from a union, you know what they do? They tend not to retreat back to their corner and say, oh, well, you're just a bad person. What they do is they say, well, here, let's find out what we can agree on and where we can work on a common goal. Now, there are going to be lines that we cannot cross with that, and people will try to get us to focus on those things, whether it's abortion access, whether it's racism, those types of things. And those things are extremely important. You know my why. You've seen the picture of my wife and my kids. I'm not asking you to abandon your morals or your positions in any way. What I'm asking you to do is be smart about how you communicate with people, because we are effectively the marketers for the Democratic Party. We are the communication link. When people go into that voting booth, they're thinking about, what did Emmett say about him? That's right, Emmett. They're thinking about, what did Reed say? What did Janet say? What did Misty say? That's what they remember, because we're the people. A party is a hard thing to conceptualize, but they remember how they were treated by other human beings. That's something that MAGA does really, really well with their own people. They give them a community. They give them something to feel like they belong to, because they're all out there in their red hats. They're all talking about when they see each other, they know they're part of that community. We have to do the same type of thing, and we have to start drawing people in. Now, are we going to get a bunch of hardcore Republicans to vote for us? Hell no, we're not. Of course not. But what we can do is get people in the middle and more people on the left to engage with us if we're not trying to divide people. Robert.
Real quick, I want to say I'm vouch for that, because like I said earlier, I do TikTok live, you know, control my property. I don't get to that. But I had there were people who said, hey, I'm conservative and I want to wish you luck because I appreciate you answering my question. Something as simple as that would be, you know, enough. We don't have to go extreme. Of course, I get more, you know, trolling, you know, but it makes sense. What you're saying is absolutely right. And all I had to do was just give an honest answer. They didn't mention disagreeing or whatever. They said, we appreciate you, you know, running on it, you know, talking.
Anybody else before we get out of here?
One thing.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved your Genghis Khan example, but I want to use a current example of resilience, just really quick, because I learned this. I was sitting there thinking, how did President Zelensky sit there and not fly across the room and lose his shit on his face? Okay? And then I was wondering, like, what is it about him? And what I learned is this: President Zelensky's grandfather was the only surviving child. His parents and all three of his siblings were killed in the Holocaust. If you don't know that already. So Zelensky has that resilience in him that comes down intergenerationally. And I think we all have that in us if we really think about our background. So when those times come where things get really, really difficult, think about Zelensky's grandfather and Zelensky himself and how they are resilient and how we can push through when things are hard.
All right. Anybody else? What's the ticket?
495.
We've got 295 on their blue ticket.
295.
No, fire, we got a winner. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Take the state back.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks to everybody who joined. Bye.
This is your mistake, and great to meet you in person.